I'm not going to say anything about where George Zimmerman is, his location. I think it's been kept a secret from a lot of people, and I'm not going to reveal that now. This is not, at this point, people are coming to me as the attorney of record to answer questions, and after 2 days of no contact and him reaching out and doing things that I didn't know about, I can't hold myself out as the attorney of record at this point. Absolutely everything I have said up to this point about the case and about me believing the case it's a case of self-defense, that it's not a racial issue, I absolutely stand by everything up to this point. However, it wouldn't be ethical for me to continue to hold myself out as his attorney when I haven't spoken to him in 2 days, and I know his phone works, and I know he's not returning my messages, and he's not returning my texts, and he's not returning my emails. He won't even give me a collect call. I can't hold myself out at this point as being his attorney and truthfully tell you anything. That's why I'm stepping back. But up to that point, everything that I've said about the case and that this being an issue of self-defense and that the media has put the wrong spin on all the evidence that's out there and tried to convict the wrong person on this, that George Zimmerman was acting in self-defense, I absolutely stand by, and I urge all the media to look at what's there, go based on the evidence that's out there, make your decision based on that, not on just raw emotion.
Say again now.
Has George ever seen a therapist? Because it appears that this man is falling apart, he's grasping straws. Has he been seeing anybody to talk to about his problems that he's going through?
He's been in hiding, so I'm not sure how much he's been able to get therapy for that while he's been in hiding.
Let me
get some. What's your
logistical?
I think at different points he's been alone. I can't speak as to the last couple of days if he's been alone or not.
Here's the logistical problem for George. George can't get in a car and drive down to some office center to go in and see the psychologist. George can't go down to the 7-Eleven and buy a Diet Coke. There's a bounty out on his head. Whether it's believed to be a real bounty or not, it's out there. He probably watches more of this every day than he should. He's largely alone. Whether that means he's absolutely alone or not, he's at least emotionally alone. And you might even say emotionally crippled by virtue of the pressure of this case. And so, whereas you or I could probably get in the car or have a loved one drive us down to a medical center, no one notices us when we go in. He's going to come back out to a view that looks like this.
Given all those factors and considering all what you have, with due respect, are you concerned, are you so afraid that he may do something to himself with the monies that he has go out of the country? I know you say he's in the U.S. right now.
Based on what I know of him to this point, he's not going to flee the country.
What about the other, the worst, the latter, the possibility of him doing some harm to himself?
I don't believe so at this point.
Right, you got the initial phone call from the male to represent George Zimmerman.
Correct. Well, we had conversations, multiple conversations. We talk every day, communicate through text messages and email and that way. So the communication was there, and at that point he did want me to be his counsel. He has a Sixth Amendment right to counsel of his choice. And if at any point he decides he doesn't want me as counsel, that's just absolutely right, and I can't stand in his way of making that choice. I took his case and everything up to the day of filing. That if there were media issues, which I didn't ever expect this much, I offered to do that pro bono up to the point of filing, and then we work something out. I really believed in his case and believed in his innocence, believed that he acted in self-defense, and that's what my interest was in the case. And now if he doesn't want me to represent him anymore, I ethically can't go forward.
First week of March.
George Zimmerman owes me no money.
Why have you not met with him?
All right.
Okay, let me get your question, then I'll get you. That was just a logistic. He's in hiding, and it was better for him to stay hiding and stay in hiding and stay safe than to come to my office where there are lots of people watching him, and there have been death threats. My concern was that he was safe. We didn't have to necessarily, preferably we meet face-to-face, but it's not absolutely necessary. And I think we've been able to handle the case by phone up to this point. But there were face-to-face meetings scheduled.
Whoa, time out. Let me supplement that a little bit. Probably in 99.44, 100% of the cases, you meet with your client, you sign a representation agreement, you represent them after that. However, for attorneys that practice here in Central Florida, with 54 million tourists a year coming to Disney and Universal and oftentimes getting arrested and flying home and hiring us from Minnesota or from California or from Europe, it is not totally unusual to not meet with your client personally. We do it all the time. In this case, I will not tell you where George Zimmerman is because I don't know. But for those who are engaged in the late Easter egg hunt looking for him, you can stop looking in Florida. Look much further away than that, which is also a reason why we didn't meet with him, because it was simply not reasonable. Our hands were busy, A, with the law practices that we already have, and B, with doing everything we could possibly for his benefit and meeting with the press and talking with the prosecutor and so forth. So while it may be unusual, there's nothing much to be read into the fact that we had not yet had the opportunity to sit down and look him in the eye.
So you say he's not in Florida?
I said that.
What's your question?
What was the last communication either of you had with George Zimmerman? When was it? What was the substance of it?
I'm not going to tell you what the subject of it was,
Sunday.
but it was, I believe that I communicated with him Sunday, and I believe it was a text message.
Let's follow up. So through all the verbal conversations and the text messages that you guys have had with him, was there anything in his, verbal demeanor that would indicate this happening?
No, this was a surprise to me.
Sir, if a case is issued, do you have an ethical duty to assist in his apprehension in any way?
No, I'm not on the case now. So if there is a capias issued, it'll be up to law enforcement and for George to do that. Up to this point, I would have, made that happen. I always, any client that I have, if there's a warrant issued for their arrest, we make arrangements for them to turn themselves in. I don't aid and abet people in trying to.
How would you do that if you are only reasonably certain where he is? You said you were reasonably certain where he is, but you didn't know, you didn't see him face to face.
I know 100% what his phone number is.
Okay, but you were just going to rely on him to just respond to you and turn himself in on his own.
Yes. Yes, and when you deal with clients, there has to be a certain amount of trust and honesty that you will take. When I tell you that you need to turn yourself in, you'll turn yourself in. We did agree on that.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't represent anybody who would tell me, well, I'm going to run if they issue a warrant for my arrest. I wouldn't be their attorney because then I'd be here doing what I'm doing today again.
In hindsight, now you're saying that your client is not returning your calls, is having ex parte conversations with news media and doing things that now don't seem so reasonable. So are you confident now that he would turn himself in if he had to? Are you now confident?
I think he would. He's in contact. He's in contact with law enforcement. He's calling the prosecutor's office. So I'm guessing that if he's going to call the prosecutor's office, if they said come turn yourself in, and he wanted to give his statement, I'm assuming that if they said, well, we need you to come in, turn yourself in, that he will do that.
He indicated to the prosecutor's office that it was his intention and goal, if they would let him, to quote unquote come into the prosecutor's office and to answer their questions there. If he was anticipating an arrest, they wouldn't have to run very far to catch him. When's the last time you talked to Robert?
About 20 minutes ago.
Oh, we're not going to tell you what he said.
I'm not going to tell you what he said.
This is CNN Breaking News.
All right, we want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room. We've been watching the dramatic development in the Trayvon Martin shooting case. You just saw it. The lawyers for the shooter, George Zimmerman, revealing just moments ago that they have, in fact, lost contact with George Zimmerman, so they're dropping his case.
We want to announce today, as of now, we are withdrawing as counsel for Mr. Zimmerman. We've lost contact with him. Up to this point, we've had contact every day. He's gone on his own. I'm not sure what he's doing or who he's talking to, but at this point, we're withdrawing as counsel. If he wants us to come back as counsel, he will contact us. We had contact as of, I believe, Sunday. In the last couple of days, he has not returned phone calls or text messages or emails, leading me to believe that I can't go forward speaking to the public about George Zimmerman in this case as representing him, because I've lost contact with him at this point. All
right, let's bring in our legal analyst, Sonny Hostin. Sonny, a dramatic development indeed, we were wondering why they were doing this news conference at the courthouse. I assume they went there, these two lawyers, to formally notify the authorities they were no longer the attorneys of record for George Zimmerman.
That's right. I mean, this is remarkable, Wolf. But what people need to know is that a client can fire an attorney at any time for any reason. Not so for an attorney. It's not that easy for an attorney to withdraw from a case, from representation of a client. But if your client is not communicating with you, that can be a reason that allows you to withdraw from representation. And that's what we heard today, that they last spoke to George Zimmerman on Sunday, that they haven't spoken to him for approximately 2 days. And on top of that, Wolf, he is doing things sort of against their advice. He apparently called Sean Hannity and had a discussion with Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity would not disclose the contents of that discussion, and also called the special prosecutor and explained to the special prosecutor that these were just his legal advisors and not George Zimmerman's legal representatives. And it is very, very rare for the target of an investigation to call a prosecutor. That is simply just not done. So no surprise that this legal team withdrew from George Zimmerman's representation.
But, Sonny, these lawyers make it sound like Zimmerman is going through some sort of, in their words, post-traumatic shock syndrome, that he's losing weight, he's isolated, not by himself, maybe not thinking clearly. How does that affect the attorneys who have been representing this individual if, in fact, he's going through some mental problems right now?
Right. That actually is of some concern. Ethically, some will wonder, can they withdraw? They can, especially since they aren't communicating with him. Again, a client can fire an attorney for any reason on a whim. Not so for an attorney, but they do seem to have reason to withdraw from representation. I do think it's shocking, Wolf, that they said that he's just not doing well emotionally, that perhaps the pressure of this case has put him over the edge. They seem to have on their hands a runaway client.
Yes, that's what it seems like. Stand by, Sonny, because Jeff Toobin is also joining us on the phone right now, our senior legal analyst. Jeff, it's not every day you see something like this develop in such a high-profile case.
That was certainly one of the wackiest news conferences I have ever seen. I think they are obviously concerned about his well-being, but they are also, I think, potentially setting him up for an earlier arrest than they might have, because one of the reasons a prosecutor doesn't arrest someone right away is that the prosecutor is assured by the counsel that, look, he'll surrender. He's not going anywhere. I know where he is, and he'll turn himself in. At this point, the lawyers don't know what he's doing, don't know where he is, and a prosecutor may say, look, I better arrest this person, or he's going to be in the wind. So I think this bizarre episode might accelerate the prosecutor's timetable if, in fact, she's going to arrest him.
Ashley Banfield is also watching what's going on. You're learning more information, Ashley, on what's happened in this dramatic turn of events in the Trayvon Martin shooting case, the killing case. What are you learning?
Well, I was actually on the telephone with Hal Uhrig as he was walking up to the microphone to make this announcement, and he gave me a couple of other details about this case. He said that they had actually given a letter to George Zimmerman to sign, essentially a retainer letter, an agreement letter for representation, and they said that George Zimmerman had told him he signed it, sealed it, and mailed it back to them, and they had expected to have it arrive in their offices by about today. They haven't received that letter, so in essence, they have never been retained yet in this case, if you ask them. So they're not even resigning from a case. In fact, they also told me that the prosecutors told them, and again, this is a little bit complex, but the prosecutors called these two attorneys to let them know that Zimmerman had reached out to them without an attorney present and recommended and requested that he come in and speak to them alone. They told these two attorneys that he had suggested these attorneys weren't his lawyers. That George Zimmerman told the prosecutors these two attorneys were not his lawyers and instead called them legal advisors. So it's extraordinarily bizarre that George Zimmerman has sort of gone rogue on these two people who were, as they understood, his only two legal representatives. But at this point, all they can say is that they've never been retained, they've never been paid, They say they aren't owed anything. They say that Zimmerman promised that he'd signed the letter to retain them, but that they haven't received it. It was supposed to be in the mail. It's not arrived. And they also mentioned something about PTSD. I think they sort of alluded to it in the press conference that they're worried about his mental health, but they're very concerned that he may have suffered some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder.